Misaskim, and alle andere Chaverim, and of course the Mishpucha Chashiva. Yesterday, Pashas Kisuvay, there's a famous word from the Arigas Aboisim, and I've used the word many, many times. However, tonight is the first time where I realized that something is missing from that word. So it's the first time that I ever said such a thing, that something is missing from the Arigas Aboisim. The word in the Arigas Aboisim, Bekitzer, is in the beginning of Pashas Kisuvay. We have the Pasha of Bekirim, and the Torah writes out exactly what the person is supposed to say when he comes to the Beis HaMikdash, and he has to give Hakuras HaToiv, and you have the words in the Psikim, in the Torah itself. And the question is, why does the Torah have to write out the words? The person's coming, and he obviously has a lot to say, and he wants to give thanks to the Rabbi Shalom, so of course, he'll use his own words. Why do I have to have those words written outright in the Psikim? So the Heilige Arigas Aboisim answers that when a person came to the Beis HaMikdash, he was so overwhelmed by what he saw, and he became so excited about everything that he has to say and thanked the Rabbi Shalom for, that he was not able to express himself. His mouth would not be able to work. As we know, that is the teva of the person. The heart wird verklemmt, the mol wird vermacht. He's not able to say a word. So then there's a possibility that he's just going to turn around and he's not going to say anything. So that's already going to be considered a kufi toiva. That's even worse. So the Rabbi Shalom did a gewaldige favor for the person. I'm going to write out the psikim in the Torah. Even if your mind is not able to work and your mouth is not able to express, you'll open up the chimish, you'll be able to see the psikim, and just read the psikim, and through that, you'll be able to express yourself at least. At kan dvurav from the Heilige Arigas Aboisim. What I realized tonight is that there's something missing in the Arigas Aboisim. That there's another situation that he doesn't mention. Where the heart is verklemmt, and the Mol arbeit nicht, and the Moyach arbeit auch nicht. And that's a situation which is just the opposite of what he's talking about. He's talking about a matzav, of course, simcha, bekirim, you're coming to the Beis HaMikdash. But sometimes there's a matzav where the ke'ev, the vaitug, and the tsar is what's holding back the person from being able to express himself properly. But not only that, what exactly are the words that a person is supposed to say? L'chvoidoi fin de neshume kedoisha of Yankie ben Chuva Yisrael Ula Bashulam. And Rabbi said there's no blueprint for that. The Rabbi Shalom didn't provide like he provided for Bekirim and for a person to express Akuras HaToiv. So he provided the Psikim and Pashas Kisuvay, open up the Chimish and look in there and read those few Psikim. To speak about Yankie, there's no blueprint. You know why there's no blueprint? Because he was a Yuchid B'minoi and a Yuchid B'doiroi. And although I'm not qualified, of course, to say such a thing, he was probably a Yuchid fin Doire Doire Doires. When it comes to Chesed and it comes to thinking about another Yid. By the way, there's another first tonight for me. It's the first Misaskim event, which I've spoken at, and there's plenty of that, where I don't have Yankie telling me beforehand, don't mention one word about me or else. Those were the words, or else. Jetzt meg man sagen, I don't have that tonight. I have no doubt that the Shume Kedosha is here, and I don't hear him, I'll go put him, saying it. And we have a chiv, als Zeichen Ish Musa, it should be an aliyah. We can't do that. The or else is our predicament. So just a few words, and since me imke de libbe, I don't want to be matriach the olam. The Gemara brings in Masechtas in Hedron, Daf Kif Aleph, a story. Kishachula Reb Lezer, when Reb Lezer became sick, Nachnasi Dalit Zekeinim Lavakroi. 4 Zekeinim, Kedoshim, Tanuim, went in to be Mavakar Choyle Reb Lezer. It's the famous 4 Tanuim that we have in the Agudah Shal Pesach, all over Shas. You have Rabbi Shia, Reb Tarfman, Reb Luz Ben Azari, Reb Akiva. They're always together. And each one of them is trying to be mechazik Reb Lezer in his matzav of being a choyle. It's usually the pshat in those gemuras that where the gemura brings down that someone was a choyle. That means that he's already at the last moments. And the gemura brings down Nene Rabbi Shia v'omer toivat li Yisrael yoyse migal galachama. And Reb Luz Ben Azariah says toivat li Yisrael yoyse ma'avem. And Reb Tarfon says toivat li Yisrael mitipish al kshumim. You're better than all these things. And the Mefarshim already go into exactly what they mean. Reb Lezer had Talmidim, he was Marbitz Torah. All these things are meramas to a certain mala that Reb Lezer had. Nene Reb Akiva v'umar chavivin yisirim. Reb Akiva was the last one to say anything, and he said, Reb Akiva said to Reb Lezer, chavivim yisirim. Afishtatschen de Werte. Reb Lezer said, Samchini. Please, help me to get up, and ve'eshmo, I want to hear Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Let me hear Rabbi Akiva. In other words, he chose what Rabbi Akiva said, Chaviv and Yesirim, over all the other Divrei Chizik that all those other Gevaldige Tanuim said. And the kasha hits you right away. What is Rabbi Akiva saying? The other ones are saying Takamalas of Rabbi Lezer, the Tipish L'Kshumim, Av'em, all these things. Rabbi Akiva is quoting, he's saying a point. Chaviv and Yesirim. But why is Rabbi Lezer choosing Rabbi Akiva's words? I heard once from the Makkah Beruv, Zechat Tzadik Lebrucha. I heard it personally from him. He was saying a hesped, a shloshim on somebody. And he said, Amoyre Dikavart. He said, the Lezer heard all those other compliments that were being said by the other Tanuim. The problem was Reb Lezer was not happy with that. Because Reb Lezer in that matziv that he was right now when he was Nabach sick, he was not able to do all those things anymore. He was not able to be that typical gshumim and that avem and that galgal acham. He wasn't able to learn with the Talmidim. He wasn't able to be Marbitz Torah. He was a matziv of chulu. Reb Lezer was looking for something that he should hear. What am I still accomplishing in this world? In this matzav, kishachul Reb Lezer, what am I still accomplishing? How am I still teaching my Talmidim something? How are they still able to look at me and learn certain things? Rabbi Akiva said, Nene Rabbi Akiva, yeah, you're not being Marbitz Torah, and you're not doing what you used to do over there in the yeshiva and whatever. Aber Chaviv and Yesirim, by giving them a lesson and showing them on how to be Makabel Yesirim, is giving them the lesson of how to act as a Yid, as a Tzaddik, B'Shas, when Yesirim are existing by you. That's the greatest lesson that could possibly be given. You don't have to do those other things right now. You're giving your Talmidim the chinuch of Chaviv and Yesirim. Reb Lezer, Samchini ve'eshmu divrei Rabbi Akiva. I'm still accomplishing something. Samchini ve'eshmu divrei Rabbi Akiva. I was thinking, Rabbi, as Meyer just mentioned, the moments when Yankie would still be dreaming about Misaskim, with all those things. I don't know how many of the things remain fantasies and ever, but we also had such conversations together. But what I said before, that he was a yuchid b'doiroi and a yuchid b'minoi, is in this point, what I mean to say is, not personally as the Chavivim Yesirim. He realized that the matzav for a Yid that's going through Yesirim, it's a gewaldige madreige for that Yid to be able to say Chavivim Yesirim. Not him. He was looking at another Yid's matzav. What can I do to help another Yid when he's in a matzav of Yesirim, that he should be able to say and tell the Rabbi Shalom Chavivim Yesirim? How could I make it easier for him or her? How could I make them be makabel? Zolzam be a minne, zolzam betuchen, whatever it is. And of course, physically, how am I going to be able to do that? Oh, Umar Blazer, Samchini ve'eshmu divir bakive talmidi. That Chavivim Yisirin is what Yankie worked on. Letoives ganz Klal Yisrael. That ganz Klal Yisrael in Gulas, Beprutis and Beklulias should be able to say, Mamar Yankie is Chavivim Yisirin. He makes it easier for me. It's possible for me to go through what I have to go through, unfortunately. There's a Meyer Dikavart from some Seifer says, Va'ele Shmois b'nei Yisrael habuim Mitzraymu, Eis Yankov ishi beisoi bui. And the Mefarshim are busy with that habuim Mitzraymu. Who says habuim Mitzraymu? They're there already for 200 years. They came already to Mitzrayim in Pashas Vayigash, and Pashas, there's already, the whole Gulas has already begun from way before. Va'ele Shmois b'nei Yisrael habuim, right now, habuim Mitzraymu. The Heilig Sam Seifer Meyer Dikavart. As long as Yankov Avini was alive, they didn't feel the gulas. Right? That's what Rashi says in the beginning of Parshas Vayechi. But nicht gespürt the gulas. When Yankov Avini was nostalgic, then all of a sudden it hit them. Look at where we are. Mitzrayim, Chmun al-Islam, Begashmiyas, Berachnias. So the Pusik, Ve'ele Shmois b'nei Yisrael, Habuim Mitzrayimu, right now. They're in Mitzrayim, they just arrived. You know why? Why didn't they feel it before? Because they came with Yankov. And if they came with Yankov, as long as they had Yankov, they didn't feel the Mitzrayim. They didn't heal. Mitzrayim meint Mitzurim, the Schwierigkeiten, the Weitungen. They didn't feel it. But now that Yankov Avini is not here anymore, oh, Ilishmois b'nei Yisrael habuim Mitzrayim. I don't have to say it, it's a dova pushet, and especially in Zamekeluni b'nai ish echad, in Zamekeluni mishpucha achas. Eis Yankov ishi beisai bui. Everyone feels it personally. And Klal Yisrael, of course, also. We just don't have the koyach to be able to be meshayer that. As long as it was Eis Yankov ishi beisai bui. Aber jetzt, Ve'ele Shmois b'nai Yisrael, habu Mitzrayim. The efforts of all those that are left over, Mishpucha and the Misaskim, to make sure as much as possible to be mamalid at Chesurin. We can't in ganzen mamalid sein. A yuchid bedoyer, a gudel bedoyer, can't in ganzen mamalid sein. Impossible. But the cheshik and the will and the koiches, in order to try to do that, that's a shayin on the chumah. This is a shayin nechumah that we're able to grab onto in such a matzah. Not that it's the definition of what he was. But Meyer had gesagt, this is not the first time that I met Yankie. All I know is that also goes back 30 years. I don't have the exact date. I want the item to look it up on the calendar. There was a big major snowstorm in January. Like 24 inches or whatever. And I happened to be scheduled to go to Eretz Yisrael. That morning I had to go on a flight to Eretz Yisrael with my Rebbetzin. And it was very important for me because I hadn't been by my father's tzion in Eretz Yisrael already for 6.5 years. And I said, if you're not there for 7 years. So I was worried a little bit about that. So we made plans, which got completed in the Neshama. Okay, Prite mit Starev. I didn't have yet my moedetike stelle that I have today, by the way. I'll go put him, so we got everything ready. We had 2 little babies, we give them to the baby. All of a sudden, Ashnai, and of course everything is up in the air. I go out of my house, I went out 7 in the morning. Who do you think is right in front of my house? With the big, what's it called? The truck, what is it called? Truck. Everyone knew when that goes by, oh, that's Yankie. Mit the license plate, mit the ganze Geschäft. Okay? He's sitting there in his truck, whatever you call it, and he's like, I go over to him, what are you doing here? You davened already. That's what he answered. You davened already. Yeah, I'm going out to daven. You got to go. You got to get a flight. He had his badge hanging over there from his neck with the necklace, and he had his boots, he had everything ready, he had his whole uniform on. I'm taking you to the airport. I'll wait until you come back from davening. I'll take care of everything. And he took care of everything. As if he had gesucht. So it wasn't the first time that I met him, but the first time maybe that it got into my head a little bit. Who is this guy? I got to get to know this guy a little better. They say on the Schlomkes Wille, the größte Tzaddik, Schiesjungen alleine, noch in the Heim, in Zvil. So there were Yiddish soldiers in World War I that were drafted into the army, and they were given like a few days to get away from their post, and it was the second day, Sikkes, was Simchas Torah. And they came into the Schlomkes Wille's shul, Smedrish, ich weiß. The Oilem didn't have what to give them to eat. The dachkes and the aniyas was so terrible. So the Shlanke told the Gabbe that he should go around and collect from everybody a little flour. Everyone should give away a little bit of their flour that we should be able to bake for these soldiers, for these Yidden. And the Gabbe refused. What do you mean? They're going to give away, they have to give to eat their children. It's not possible. He insisted. Anyway, he came back. It was an hour or two later. And by the way, it was already by the Akufas, so they were waiting to dance the Akufas, and they were waiting for the Gabba to come back. And the Gabba came back with a sack of flour. He was matzliach. Everyone gave a little bit of their own flour. Reb Shlamke, it's a bekannte Masse. Reb Shlamke took the sack of flour, and instead of dancing the Hakufas holding the Sefer Torah, he danced the Hakufas holding that sack of flour. Unu Hashem Hoshihunu, Unu Hashem Hatzlichunu. That's how he went around once, twice, or whatever it was. Azoyti getanzt da kufas with that sack of flour. Adam remembers this ryan, this idea that Yankie had about how many hachnusas, Sefer Torahs, how many to write, and how many to make from that aganse, and how he would dance with those Sefer Torah. And who could forget about the Sefer Torah for Levi Kletzky and maybe eins, Akopunim. Mitazah Simcha. Why? Because those Achnusas Sefer Torahs included a kiyum of his will and of his machshava, that this was all for chesed of Klal Yisrael, for toive in Klal Yisrael. So given a zak fin mail for the B'Shloimkes Wille, the Sefer Torah. That's how he danced with that. That's what he held b'shas masa when he did that. And by the way, what Meyer mentioned before about how Misaskim came about, I just want to put in one little idea. You know, there's a mitzvah of Pesach Sheni, and Pesach Sheni was not from the original Taryag mitzvahs. How exactly you answer for the number of Taryag, but it wasn't originally part of the Taryag mitzvahs. Those Tamei and Lanefesh came, and they said, Lumini Gura, and they meant it seriously, and all of a sudden, Moshe Rabbeinu went to ask, and the Rabbi Hashem told him, yeah, we have a new mitzvah, Pesach Sheni. And the Sfasem says, Amayre de Kizach. You remember, Mistam, you know the word, from the roots and the hergish of those Tmeim Lenefesh, that they wanted it so much. They wanted such a mitzvah to be able to be, they shouldn't be left out. From their roots and their hergish that comes from the Chelik Elikayim Yimal, straight from the Neshama, that, I'm translating the words maybe not properly, that gave birth, Rabbi Zai, to a new mitzvah. That's what gave us the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni, a bekannte word in the Sfasemes. That gave birth to the new mitzvah, a koyach von Ayid, von zan koyach neshama. I would say, with all the fantasies that he had about this Misaskim organization, it all happened, and it came about, it's a geboren geworden, from that hergish, from that pnimius, der emmese Pnimius mit a Lauterkeit, mit a Tahara, mit a Sicher, mit an Emmeskeit, kein Covid, kein Geld, gunish, only for Klal Yisrael. It had to happen. There's no way that it wouldn't happen. It had to happen. It's mamish gekimmen from the koyach, from Chelik Elikayim Yimal, and from the Chelik HaNeshama Al Kapunim that was involved. I'm sorry to keep you so long, really. But if I'm standing here, there's one thing which is negaya lelibi very, very much. And it was negaya l'havle ben chaim l'chaim to Yankie as well. But since we're all b'nei mishpucha achas, b'nei mishpucha achas means that Misaskim and Kvoid HaMes and Kvoid HaNifter is synonymous. Das geht doch zusammen. That's really where the whole thing was born. Anything that has to do with that. If I would allow myself to say, now, it's only for such a person like Yankie Ulavashulim that the Rabbi Shalom trusted that he should be the one that should be moisiv and should give so much for the madrega and the level of Kvoid HaMes. Only such a person. We meant it kiloi l'shem shemayim with no ulterior motives involved at all. It is verstanden. You could see it from everything that he came to ask, not me personally, some things from the Rabbunim. On every nikidda of jede Kleinigkeit, he didn't move his finger when it came to this inyan, without being sure that he's doing exactly what has to be done. So nor for as a mensch, that the Rabbi Shalom hat getraut, as soll heranfallen in seine Hand, the inyan taka, the inyan von Kvoid HaMes. Let's be sure that we realize that and we know what that's all about. It says emes vater ledoire doires. There's a moiridige story from Reb Kreisworth, like a tzaddik lebrucha. You know that the Heilige Vizhnitzer Rebbe, the Imre Chaim, he brought over his father, he was Mefana, his father, the Ahavas Yisrael, from Europe after the war. From Grois Verdan, he brought him over to Bnei Barak. The Ahavas Yisrael is in Bnei Barak. And Reb Kreisworth helped him. He helped him do that. He had the connections over there with the government. He was very young then still, but he helped him. Anyway, Reb Kreisworth came to Eretz Yisrael afterwards. It was, I think, a year later. And he wanted to go into the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, to the Imre Chaim, to Reb Chaim Meyer. And he heard that he's schwach, he's not taking any people. So he heard that the Rebbe is fasting. And he's not only fasting today, but he fasts every Thursday. He got a hold of this, that the Rebbe was makabel to fast a bunch of Tanaisim, which I guess is not the minig in Vishnitz, ich bin nicht bekannt. But that's what he got. So for some reason, he writes this himself, Reb Kreisworth. For some reason, he took it into his mind that maybe the Rebbe is doing this for a kapura because he brought his father over last year, and maybe he feels that it wasn't 100% or whatever, that he should fast. So he's doing that. So then he felt, well, I also was a shittiv. I also was part of that. So maybe I also need a tikkun. So when he went into the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, he asked the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, I heard that you're fasting. Well, if we need a tikkun, maybe you tell me also what I should do, because then I also want to have a kapura. So the Chaim Meyer laughed and he told him, I'm fasting because of a different reason. Steigt nicht was, Rabbi say. I'm fasting for a different reason. And don't worry about it. What we did was 100%, because after it was finished and we had already done what we did, my father came to me in a chulim and thanked me and told me, Yashe koyach has begetin a groise teufe. We're all not zoiche to that. The other was an oisik in the Yunim from Chevre Kedisha. We're not zoiche to that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe someone will come about and tell me about it. Okay, I can only say I am not zoiche to that. To get the haskume afterwards, after we do something, and especially if it's something that's a little sensitive, and we have to know exactly what we're doing. The only guarantee that we have, at least that we're doing right, is if we do it the way Yankie did it. We do it the way that it's kiloi l'shem shemayim. It says kiloi nor for the Kvoid HaMes. Only for that. Das ist der Eibische getraut. Der Tzaddik was the one that stole the weg the Yisaitis. I just want to end off, and I just want to say this persönliche Sache, a personal feeling. It says in the Pusik, by Yankie b'nei Yisrael men ha'avoide, by Yezuki, Pasha Shmos, right? Klal Yisrael was krechzing, by Yezuki, and they were screaming, V'atal shavusam elu elekim min ha'avoide. The kasha is that it's a kefalution. Steht by Yankie, steht by Yezuki, so Chazal dashen. By Yankie b'nei Yisrael men ha'avoide, right? From the physical labor. By Yezuki alabunim, because the Mitzrim were killing Yiddish children. throwing the schurim into the yam, building him into the buildings, al kapurim. So the chidu moiridik, batal shavusam elo elikim. The Rabbi Shalom heard their screams, aber minu avoida. He only heard the screams that they were screaming because of the physical labor, but not vayizuki because of the children. It's much worse. The vayizuki of the bunim. That's what the Rabbi Shalom should have heard. Zuk the chidu, because the vayizuki on the bunim rechmun al-itzlan, is the cheshbon of neshumas. The Rabbi Shalom says the cheshbon of the neshumas, that's my business. You have no idea. We have to be makabel. Says a minne betuchen, and that's why batal shavusim elu elikim inu avoida aber nicht vayizuki. That's neshumas. We have no idea. We have to be makabel. Vayizuki is hominish kan shim anung, the cheshbon of the neshumas the Rabbi Shalom has. But one thing I could say, and I said it in other times also, Sav kol sav shtayt vayizuki shrayen aber megmenya. Taka cheshbon from the neshumas vayizuki, and those neshumas we don't ask any questions. We taka have a minna, we taka have betuchim. Whatever the cheshbon in Shemayim is, it's all for the better. It's all for the good. Aber vayizuki, the ka'ev, in Tishrayin, gewalt. I miss him. I need him. He gave me strength to cope, to go on, to be able to deal with certain things. Dus make me ja. Das ist also wie a Tfille, mit beter Rabbi Shalom. A zichroi lo yafsik, chas v'sholem. Ich will es auch nicht hupen kann hapsik. That's going to help me also. Even though I have the minne betuchen, of course, that this is taka, the way it has to be. And the ending mit Amasa from the Balatanya. Balatanya was zoiche that by the tahara of his gewaltige große Rebbe, the Magid Agudel, the Rebbe Reber, he was misasik, he was mishtatev in the tahara, and they gave for the other talmidim also who were mishtatev exactly what they have to do, right? In the Plutim Rabbi Zai, but the Balatanya was zoiche to be misasik with the roish of the Heilige Magid Agudel mit der Rebbe Reber. Roish shoi kesem paz, wenn man macht the zilev, weiß doch jeder eine der Pusik. Roish shoi kesem paz, das ist the Balatanya zoiche gewesen. And that was the greatest chis. And the question is why? But Pinchas Mekaretz gesucht, I'll tell you why. Because the Balatanya, Pinchas Mekaretz once had a gewalde hakpuda. He saw little pieces of paper on the floor. And he went to pick it up and he saw that it was Toiris that was written from the Magid Agudel. He said, so he had a gewalde getana to the Magid Agudel that he's saying over his Toiris even to such pusha to people that are not machshavit, and then they throw it away. So the Balatanya came to the Pinchas Karitzer, and he calmed him down, and he said, listen, the Heilige Rebbe, the Magid Agudel, knows that even for pusha to Yidden, darf man auch zugen de teures. A fille for pusha to Yidden, gave him a whole mushel, you have a choyle, and you have to put medicine into his mouth, and he's not able to open his mouth, so you just pour it onto the mouth. A little bit is going to go in. I could put him here also. A philip a push it to Yidden. A bissel tarangain. A bissel from the Heilige Teure from the Magid Agudel. And because the Balatanya said this, he was zoichem in Shemayim that he should be misasik with the rosh from the Magid Agudel le'acha petirusa. Azoi arbetes in Himmel. Okay? A push it to Yid. And Zamerale in Deim Klau. Okay? That's it. We're all together in this. Okay, but if we have that machshuva and we learn from our Rebbes, it's going to be man Rebbe. It's going to be man Rebbe in Chesed. Lahoyres, v'zoytzetin Chesed. Even though we can't do it on that level. A bissel come in Zoychazan. This is in Himmel. This is the Groise Chashivas. This is Roishoy. This is our machshuva. And this is Takim. L'doyre. My brucha, of course, is, and of course, just to be the repeat from before, for the ganze Mishpucha, and avada, the Pruti is, for the Almuner soll sein, gesinnt und stark, und for the teure Kinder, und die Ziege kommende Kinder, for the Eibische helfen, dass das Chiz soll beistein, es soll takke sein, am Meil, it's Yoshe, as you heard already before from Meyer, that they were all part of whatever he did to help him along, especially the Almuner soll sein, gesinnt und stark. And my Meyer is on the Hubentake, they koyach, schissim, so kimmen, Und uns, alle zusammen, wir haben gelebt mit dem zusammen, soll sein Schiss für uns beistehen, uns geben der Keuch, so wir können solche sein, und soll sich nachher mal treffen, Mamisch Bekurev, sie sagen Bila Muves, und sie sagen wie Yekitzi, wie Irani, Scheuchne Ufer, und von dem wir umkommen zu der Gile Schleime, beim Heire wie Meine, mein Scheuch.